All right, hello everybody. Let's adjust this a little bit. I'm going to turn off that light real quick. Yay! All right. Welcome to, what is this, like number 188. It's out of focus. What's going on? I don't know what's going on. Why is it out of focus? Hello, Sean. Hello, Karen. Yeah, I don't understand why this is happening. Okay, I guess we're just out of focus today. Yeah, so that's just bizarre. And that's going to drive me nuts too. Anyway. Oh, that drives me crazy. I just finished 4 hours of recording. I hired somebody to come over and record some YouTube videos with me. I don't know how many songs we did. Let me open it up and look. Jam session style, so it's not perfect. It's not meant to be perfect. It's not meant to be as good as, let's say, a CD would be. Like if you're going to buy a CD, it's not going to be that good, right? Let me see how many I did. I'm not seeing it. That would be terrible if I can't find it. Oh, I was in the wrong section. Okay, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 16 songs. We recorded 16 songs. Woohoo! All right. So yes, my chops are. You can see I like got a nice workout. You could see it. It's like focused right here. Huh? Why is it doing that? See, it's focused. Yeah, it's not focusing. That's just bizarre. Okay. All right. Let's answer some questions. Sean. Hello, Sean. Hello, Claude. Karen. Raimo. Nice to see you. Sean says, hello, Eddie. Because I'm new to jazz, working on the key of C, when I do my tonalization studies in different keys, would you recommend doing some free improv in the different keys each day? Yeah, of course. That's actually part of the system, and you'll hear, the problem with me talking about the system is a lot of times the system isn't 100% etched in stone. There have been times when I've actually told people to do that. So officially it's part of the system. I don't tell everybody to do that because not everybody is going to improvise. So I wonder if, I don't know what's going on here. So yes, Short answer is yes, it's a good idea to do that. Now, if you're going to do it immediately after the tonalization studies, then it should be a improvisation exercise. Let me tell you guys what I think a improvisation exercise is. Um, because fundamentally, improvisation should not sound like an exercise. Improvisation should be a process of whatever ideas come into your head, they get executed. Not every single idea. I like this. In this one book, it says, it has one of the exercises it has says, whatever your first idea is, don't play that one, play the next one. And I love that concept. Um, but yes, when we're improvising, we want to be able to have ideas that flow. Oh, look at that, we're in focus now. Prayers are answered. All right, so yeah, we want to be able to be spontaneous, and whatever ideas come in, we can execute that. But so to me, a improv exercise is when you, just for some parameter, you go against that uh, idea, right? So you have, so for example, one of the first improv exercises that I teach my students is we call it the eighth note exercise, and that's where you put the track on. So let's say I'm improvising over all of me. I'm imitating students that can't do that. Right? So we want to keep the eighth notes going and breathe only. The only time we don't have an eighth note is when we breathe. Now there's a bunch of reasons why we do the eighth note exercise. The most obvious reason is because there's a lot of students that don't do the eighth notes in their improv, so we want them to have that. But there's also this thing, I like to think of the improv, the ideas are in like a, what do you call that? A buffer. And the buffer easily gets emptied. What do you do if you're still playing and the buffer is gone? Well, you have to keep playing. I think that's when the buffer is empty, that's when you kick into the subconscious. And at first it sounds terrible, but that's why we have to do. That's the eighth note exercise. Now, it's improv, but with some parameters. That's what I call an improv exercise. Improv, but with some parameters. Now, if we're doing improv right after the tonalization studies, let's say, for example, I'm in two flats. Then I'm going to do free improv in two flats. Okay, so I'm just going to play improv, free improv, just using those notes. So it's not a genuine improvisation, it's an improv exercise. The purpose of a improv exercise is to improve your true improv. Okay, so like for example, if you do a diatonic improv, after you do the tonalization studies, you're going to end up being better at improvising in that key. So, Vladdy. All right. Claude says, is lip buzzing the way you did your embouchure change? It's a part of it. I promised you that I would tell you my story about how I quit trumpet. Okay. So this was my 4th year in college. So probably 1984. I think 1984. And I was having a bad, bad time. Crash and burn. Terrible, terrible performances, terrible practice sessions. And it was all because of that lump in my lip. And it got so bad, I decided, because it was painful, playing that way hurt. And it didn't just hurt when I was playing, because I was practicing like 8 hours a day. Well, I had the horn on my lips for 8 hours. I had rehearsals. I was in 12 ensembles at the time that met at least once a week. Some of them met 5 times a week. At the time, I was also in the El Paso Symphony, which met like 3 or 4 times a week. So I was a very, very busy player, but I was also practicing a whole bunch. And so it was giving me migraines. I had permanently bruised. I thought it was permanent because I had a bruise here for so long. I couldn't remember not having it. And my teeth hurt. I was pushing so hard for so long. I mean, I'm not saying I was using that much pressure, but if you use even half of too much pressure, if you're using pressure to get the bump, and you're doing that for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day, it's pushing on your teeth. So my teeth were loose, my teeth hurt, I had migraines, there was all kinds of terrible, and at the time I said to myself, this would all be worth it, like I'm a musical martyr or something. This would all be worth it if I was actually playing well, but I wasn't playing well. I was playing horribly. And I quit. When the fall semester was over, I quit. I put my horn in the closet. I put it in its case. I put it in the closet. I had no intention of going back to the horn again. And I was serious about never going back. It wasn't just, you hear people say, oh, well, if it's like that, I just want to quit. No, this was real. Uh, to sort my head out about what I was going to do next with my life, I went on a road trip. I drove from El Paso, I drove all the way to as far as Delaware. I went to Pennsylvania, West Pennsylvania, East Pennsylvania, Delaware, um, West Virginia. I just did a long road trip. And when I got back to El Paso, there was a message waiting for me. The guy that left the message, Ricky Malachi, we had a mutual friend whose son had died, and there was a benefit jam session. And I thought, officially I'm not playing anymore, but what kind of terrible human being would I be if I didn't go to this jam session? So I went to the jam session. Now, I was taught back then that for every day that you take off, it takes 2 days to get back to where you were. And I had just taken 2 weeks off from the horn. I figured there was no point in warming up because two weeks to get, I mean, I was gone 2 weeks, so a month to get back to where I was, and where I was terrible. So I didn't even warm up, and there I am. I get called up to go on stage and play a song. I get up there and I put the horn up. I'm expecting it to sound terrible. I start playing, and it was absolutely the best I ever heard myself play before. And in that moment, I thought everything I've ever been taught was not true. Not everything, you know what I mean? Here's the thing: the way logic works. If you don't have the skills that it takes, let's say you have a box of 10,000 facts, and you don't have the skills that it takes to figure out which ones of those are true and which one of those are not true, and you find out you have initially assumed it was all true, why would it be in the box if it wasn't true? So you say to yourself, these are all true, these are all true, and then one day you find out some of the stuff, some of the facts in this box that you've been collecting are not true. How do you find out which ones are and which ones are not? You can't find out because you don't have those skills yet. What does that mean? That means you have to treat all of them as if they could be untrue. And that's what happened with me. That night, I realized that I couldn't know which of the things I was taught were true and which of the things I was taught weren't true. And that's when I started my quest to figure it all out. And this thing about taking time off, it's just not true. So when I came back, this is when I invented the physical trumpet pyramid. I took more time off, and then I started rebuilding from scratch. And I mean from scratch. Some people used to call it my embouchure change. It was not an embouchure change. It was a full-fledged rebuild from the bottom up. And that's when I switched from an inflammation embouchure to a muscular embouchure. And to answer your question, it starts with not necessarily the lip buzz. The air is actually first. I actually did air exercises for 2 weeks. I did air exercises for 2 weeks before I even looked at the lip buzz. And when I first started doing lip buzz, I couldn't do it. My lip buzz, I can remember how I did it because I was trying to play exactly like I was playing on the trumpet. That's how I was playing the trumpet, so that's how I was trying to do my lip buzz. If you look up pictures of me playing when I was in college, my lips are like that. I can't play like that now. I can't play like that. But yeah, so I did the air exercises first, then I experimented for 2 weeks. So that's already a whole month without even touching the horn. I figured out that if I rolled my lips in, see, I lived in El Paso, there was no internet. I couldn't afford to travel to take lessons with people. I could not afford long distance phone calls. Even if I could afford a long distance phone call, I don't think they would have been able to help. So I had to figure this stuff out myself. And I figured out through experimenting that if I curled my lips in, that's more of a trumpet lip buzz. Okay? So I started doing exercises using the lip buzz like that. If I figured if I could do Mary Had a Little Lamb or something like that. Then that was my first step towards playing the trumpet better. So I was experimenting with that. Then I put the mouthpiece on there, and I just rebuilt my trumpet playing from scratch like that. So so yes, that's the long answer for that question. Ramo says, "Wow, Eddie, your beard." I just got my cutter out and I went and it's gone. Um, I'm going to grow it back. I don't know what got over me. Um, Now a lot of people said it looks better. I don't agree. I like the longer beard, but I started trimming it, just like trimming it, and then I just got carried away. All right. Karen says, I'm getting some glare from your glasses. Ha! Sorry about that. Let me. All right. Michael. Hello, Michael. Nice to see you. I have a recital tomorrow with two pieces in E flat and A major keys with lots of accidentals. Is a good strategy to play some scales in those keys backstage before entering the bandstand. Yes, sir. Yes, I would strongly recommend that. Yes. Any other tidbits? Feeling pretty good about my sound and technique at this point after much practice. Um, yes, I do have some tidbits. I think the most. Here we go again with the focus. I think the most important thing you can do is have fun. Raimo says I look 10 years younger. Yeah, I wonder what's going on with life. So, yes, I think, and I'm writing a book about that right now. I'm spending this time that I have. I gave myself extra time. I'll tell you guys about it someday. Um, but I'm using some of the extra time to work on uh, this. It's a completely text book. It doesn't have exercises in it or anything like that. And I'm actually talking about how we need to connect to people. The Our performances should not be 100% mechanical. It should not be 100% even musical. Music, I always say music for its own sake. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Creativity for its own sake is inherently unmusical. So that's not the same thing. Um, that's closest is close to the same subject. No. So what am I trying to say? Music for its own sake is not very musical. Maybe that's not what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I think you get the point. It's when we connect to the people, that's when the music matters most. It's that connection to the people. So when we say, okay, go out there and have fun, it's not a way to combat nerves or anything superficial like that. When I say you need to go out there and enjoy the performance, uh, what I mean is enjoy that connection. Music is cultural. Culture is people. I'm going to say it one more time. Music is cultural. culture is people. Maybe if I back up a little bit. All right. So if you can find some way to make this recital about the people in the audience or the people that your teachers, or instead of focusing on how good you are, how well you're prepared, um, instead of thinking like that, we should put your mind in a place where you are thinking about other people, that the point of the performance is the other people. That's my best advice. Hello, Tim. Tim says hello from Oklahoma City. Karen says, I like your trimmed beard. Ha 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 ha. Well, I'll tell you what, when I first trimmed the beard off and I saw this stringy neck, and I'm like, oh my, I've gotten so old since the last time I saw my neck. It looks older to me. I guess because I saw it before I grew the beard. So I look at that under there, and I'll tell you what, I'm 50 pounds lighter. I've lost 50 pounds in the time since the last time I could see my neck. So that's part of why it's all stringy like that. All right. Yeah, Ramos says I look 10 years younger. Any other questions? I wish this would focus. It is very hot. And I wonder if that's not part of what's wrong. There we are. I think maybe it had some stuff. Hello, Dennis O'Banion. Nice to see you. You know what? I owe you an email. I haven't responded to you yet. I apologize. Things have just been kind of nuts lately. I think there's probably 2 or 3 people on here that I haven't responded to lately. Hello, Cardo. Nice to see you. Cardo says, hi, Eddie. How much daily buzzing is necessary to notice an improvement? I think, you know how they say about how it's more important to be consistent than to do a lot? That's how I feel about lip buzz. I think you can easily do too much. So let's be clear about my reasons for doing lip buzz, because my reasons are not like other people's reasons that I know of. There are people who do lip buzz for strength. I don't do lip buzz for strength. I do trumpet exercises for strength. I don't do lip buzz for strength. Now, strength, I'm not saying I don't get strength from my lip buzz exercises. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the primary purpose is not strength. And that matters, right? Because that will help you decide why you're doing the lip buzz. If you know why you're doing the lip buzz, then you know also when to stop and which exercises to do. So instead of strength, we are looking for control. So, for example, that's why my exercises emphasize control. So you have almost always it starts like that. And it takes control to go up a whole step back to the note, down a whole half step back to the note. It takes control to do that. Then it takes control to do that. Going up, so I might be buzzing the wrong notes, but going up to C and going C, B, C, B, C, B, C, B, C, B, C, B, that takes control. Now, of course, it does take strength to do what I just did. And whatever does take strength is going to make you tired. Making you tired is going to get you more strength. But that's not why we do it. We do it for the control. And so if you do 5 to 15 minutes a day, between 5 and 15 minutes a day, you should get benefit out of that. Benefit that comes from the control. Yes, there is a fringe benefit that comes with the strength. Seppo, hello Seppo, nice to see you. Tim says, the daily routine has perfect amount for me. Really makes me feel ready to put the mouthpiece on my lips. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. I put a lot of effort into making the ratio of exercises exactly what works. I put decades of effort into that. We don't want too much mouthpiece, too much lip buzz. We don't want too little lip buzz. So I really put a lot of effort into trying to balance that amount. He says each group has incrementally more. That is correct. That's correct. Richie, hello Richie, nice to see you. Richie says, hey Eddie, do you also exercise singing to play better trumpet? I have. Not recently, but I have done that. Oh, do you know what? Technically, I guess you could say yes, because I do sing and finger. So if I'm working on something, I will sing and finger it during my rest time. So I'll back and forth, back and forth. That's part of my everyday practice. So I do have that as singing. A lot of people wouldn't consider that singing, but you're trying to get the right notes. I try to use the articulations that I would use on the horn. But yes, I do that. But when I first answered your question, I was thinking along the lines of singing songs. And I do think that singing songs also makes your trumpet playing better for a variety of reasons. I think singing songs can help you. You know what Pearl and I have been doing lately? And we did this for a long time, years and years ago, and then we stopped, and now we're back to doing it again. And this comes, I remember being at a church and people were complaining that they don't sing hymns at the church. And I agree with them, by the way. I think there should be hymns in church. But you're not going to hear me complaining about it. And so when we have people, when I hear people complaining about not singing hymns in church, my big question is, why are you not singing hymns? If you want to sing hymns, are you singing hymns at home? Because really, that's a thing. So Pearl and I have been singing hymns at home again. I think it's been about 6 months since we started doing that again. And yeah, as you guys probably know, I've got a whole collection of hymnals from different denominations and stuff like that. And right now we're just going. Actually, I kind of stopped doing what I was doing because it's Christmas, so we're singing instead of hymns from the rest of the book. We've gone back to the Christmas ones. But yes, we sing at home, and I've noticed that singing hymns at home is making my my trumpet playing better. So yes, the answer is yes, 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 and yes. Singing does help. Seppo says, do you use the third valve slide for the low F sharp? I do. I don't always use it. For some reason, sometimes it's out of tune, sometimes it's not out of tune. You really have to use your ear. Um, you know what I figured out? Because a lot of people don't use it on the F sharp, and the reason they don't use it is because most students over overcompensate for that being a low note. So they'll play it flat, and if you put the slide out, now you're making it flatter. Um, but it doesn't have the right sound when it's flat. So we want to push the pitch up into the pocket and then put the slide out so that it's in tune and has a good sound. And it was when I was recording my vintage trumpet treasures. I have a playlist for this. In case you guys are interested in it. My vintage trumpet treasures CD is on YouTube as a playlist. Or it's not. I thought it was. How could I think that? Well, there's that other channel that you guys might not know that I have two channels. It's just the other one I don't have. So there's a Eddie Lewis channel, the artist channel. Okay. Let me put this in. I don't think that's the channel though. I mean, I don't think that's the, let me see here. Go back. What's going, okay. Copy link address. There we go. All right, here we go. So that's my vintage trumpet treasures CD, available on YouTube. And when I was recording that, was my first time doing duets on a system like this. I think it was 2013 or something like that when I recorded it. And I noticed how out of tune my low notes were in the playback. And that's when I discovered that even me, as at that time, I had been a professional for what, 30, 40 years? And even me at that point, the low notes were all flat. You know, after I recorded that CD and got all those notes to be more in tune, I had a brass quintet gig, and the horn player that was subbing in the brass quintet is kind of famous as a horn player for brass quintet. He used to be in the Houston Symphony. And what I noticed that was the two of us had locked on. Between me and him, the pitch was, it was like, it felt like the first time I had ever played in tune with somebody. It was that amazing, right? And he approached me afterwards and said how much he loved playing with me, and I'm sure that he was talking about the same thing I was. He was thinking what I was thinking, that just playing that in tune. but I wouldn't have known how out of tune I was until I was editing that CD. Anyway, so my point is that um, we all have a tendency, because it's the lowest harmonic before you hit the principal note, and that note can move around so freely. So for it to sound good and in tune, we do have to push it up a little bit, make it almost like we're playing sharp, but we're not playing sharp. Okay, we're just not playing flat. Seppo says, "Oh yes, that's we already get that." Oh, he says, "I truly love that answer." Yes, lip it up and then put the slide out, and you'll get your best sound quality on that note. Hello, I'm gonna try to say the name Mariola, and bonjour. I understand that. Hello, nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Maybe you've been here again before. Any other questions? Nice to have you guys all here. Only one missing is Gabriel. I've been considering doing 2 of these a week and putting like one for the Americans, one for the Europeans. That way the ones in Europe can be a little bit earlier, maybe. I don't know. Any other questions? I wasn't sure I was going to have the energy to talk today, but obviously that wasn't a problem. Haha. Tim says I look well. Well, thank you. Seppo says there are still spreading opinions around on the slide usage at the low G and F sharp. I still rely on your opinion on the natural tuning system, which I guess trumpet is bound on. So, yeah, that's because of natural tuning, we will not do the same tuning on that note every different context, right? Different contexts are gonna to inspire, I guess, different tunings. Maybe demand uh one of my very first articles was an article about intonation, because I really wanted to, in the orchestra world, intonation is probably the number one most important aspect of the performance. At least in the orchestras I was ever exposed to, intonation was always the number one thing. Because without intonation, you can't have a good sound. Without a good sound, it doesn't matter how rhythmic things are. It's the bad sound will compromise the rhythm. So I thought, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna be like the best tuning trumpet player in the whole world. So I did my research and I went to the library, and the more I dug into intonation as a subject to study, the more I understood how far over my head the whole thing was. If you go into intonation from that perspective, from the perspective of an academic, because that's back then I was trying to approach it as an academic subject. And today, what I say about intonation is it's not academic. It's not. It's not science. It's some people try to justify what they do in intonation with scientific quasi lingo. Um, there's nothing scientific about playing in tune. The science of playing in tune is so highly advanced, you can't do it on your horn. What you have to do when you're playing in tune is play what sounds good to you. And what you train on, I'm not saying the training doesn't work, the training does work. What you train on is learning what to do to make it sound good. It's not about um, this note being sharper, that note being flatter. That's the tool that we use to make it sound good. That's not the intonation. The intonation is the good sound that comes out afterwards. I will go even as far as to say that intonation, good intonation, is cultural. It's not scientific, it's cultural. What sounds in tune to one group of people does not sound in tune to another group of people. So I love what Charlie Geyer told me in a lesson one time. He says the trumpet is a naturally out of tune instrument. We have to know its tendencies. We need to know what notes are flat, which notes are sharp. Then we need to know what the music requires. In other words, what makes the music in tune. So, like, if that E needs to be sharp, or if it needs to be flat, or if it's equal temperament, or whatever, we need to know that. We need to know what's on our horn. Then the process of playing in tune is when we make our horn match what's happening in the music. And that training, that's tremendous training. We want to do that. We want to have exercises that help us to teach, to not to teach, to learn how to play in tune. I have two families now where it's two boys, right? One of them is twins, and the other one is uh, older and younger brother. And the twins yesterday played one of my Christmas duets, and we spent, I think, about half the time talking about playing in tune, because it was their first lesson, coming to the lesson that they're both playing at the same time. And we talked about how to do that. And the point is you don't just try to play in tune, you work through the tuning problems. And I gave them steps. Do this first, do that second, do that third. And this will lead towards the notes being more in tune to each other. That stuff is the intonation. It's not. So what a lot of times people will do, the teacher will say, well, that's 15 cents off. Well, how do you know it's 15 cents off? Well, either they have a tuner, which the tuner doesn't tell you anything. The tuner doesn't tell you if you're in tune or out of tune. The tuner only gets you in the right ballpark. Tuning happens here during the song. If if the teacher is saying, "Oh, it's 15 cents off," doesn't have a tuner, he's just listening to it. That's his opinion. Remember what I said? It's cultural, so it's not as important that you're 15 cents off. What's important is that it doesn't sound good, and that you need to do something to make it sound better. The numbers that they throw around are irrelevant. I hope that makes sense. Intonation is not science, it's culture. So when you hear someone say something like that, interpret it. Don't don't say, well, Mr. Lewis says, no, if you ever do that with something I said, that's not cool. Okay. Um, I don't, we can all get along. Even though I don't agree with the way some people teach, doesn't mean we have to go confront them over it. Okay. So what I do, I like to interpret what they're saying. If someone says, Eddie, you're 15 cents sharp, I'll take what they said and interpret it as, this doesn't sound good. I'm probably sharp. Of course, I could be flat. This is what I mean, right? It's not science, it's cultural, it's opinion. But yes, if I hear someone say that, I'm going to say, oh, what they mean is it doesn't sound good. I should bring my pitch down to see if that helps. Seppo says, the thing I face many times is that even the best players say that they do not use the third slide for the low G and low F sharp. Right? I'm aware of this. Are the B flat trumpet nowadays made in that way you do not need to use the slide for the lower notes? No, they're not made like that. But that's what this falls in line with what I'm saying, right? Intonation is cultural. I mean, not intonation, not information. Did I say information? Intonation is cultural. So the goal here is not this is right and that's wrong. The goal here is to play in a way that it sounds good altogether. So something like that, I wouldn't even argue against that because it's a cultural. That's like someone saying, talking about their religion or something. I'm not going to argue against somebody's religion. It's no more scientific than that. Karen says, I think I need to work on playing more in tune. So the time to do that is in your band class, and all you have to do is I said band class, band rehearsal. All you have to do is listen. Open your ears, listen to how you're matching with everybody else. Here's the thing. If everybody else, when we talk about what sounds good and what does not sound good, that exists on a tolerance. So some ensembles have a wider tolerance for intonation. And you're going to have that more often in larger ensembles. The larger the ensemble is, for example, the more trumpets you have, the more forgiving the intonation can be. That's a weird way to put it, but it's actually mathematically true. Now, I said intonation is not mathematics, but when you look at this part of it, what I'm talking about, the more people you have distorting or contributing to the center of that average, the easier it is for the rest of us to fit. Okay, so and this fits along with what I'm talking about. When we play in tune, we know we're playing in tune because it sounds good. It sounds good. If it doesn't sound good, you're not there yet. Michael says, playing in a community band with a large trumpet section has helped me the most with my playing in tune. See, that's exactly what I'm saying. The bigger the ensemble is, it makes it just a little bit easier. That's why I like what Seppo is doing. Seppo and the guy in Italy, I keep forgetting his name. They're taking my compositions and put multiple players on per part. Part of what that does is it makes it sound more in tune than what it might actually be if it was on one player per part. The more people you add, and by the way, I didn't make this up. I read this in an article. There was an interview with Robert King in one of the Instrumentalists magazines. And he was talking about once you pass 3 people per part, the human ear averages those 3. So yes, that's going to happen. The bigger the ensemble is, the more the intonation begins to sound good without so much of our effort. Karen says, I'm trying to listen better to those around me. Yeah, that's really key. A really key part. The more we have people in the ensemble doing that, the better the ensemble will be. Seppo says, this is true. The most important thing is to play in tune with good tone. That still remains a question which even the best players are having opinions. That's right. Just trying to find grounding to my own teaching. Right. Well, like I said, part of what you're doing is helping a lot by putting multiple players on some of those parts. That's really going to help a lot. I have a, a trumpet quartet. I think it's quartet, either quartet or trio. And the guy in Italy is tripling up all of the parts, quadrupling all the parts, so that you have a big ensemble on stage, but they're all playing um, a trio, just dividing the parts up like that. And I love the way that sounds. I it it it's it brings me pleasure to hear my trumpet quartet or whatever as a full ensemble like that. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Same thing with Seppo. Um, Seppo sends me recordings of his ensemble. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Mustahoven. Is that how it's said? Mustahoven. Maybe I'm even forgetting the spelling now. I'll have you say the word for me sometime in a recording so I can know how to pronounce it. Anyway, we're just about out of time. I'm surprised I made it this far. Uh, just say the dark horse. Yeah, dark horse. I keep forgetting that. So does dark horse mean the same thing in Finnish as it means for us? Dark horse here is the unlikely candidate, right? The dark horse is the one nobody was thinking about and arrived on the scene and kicked everybody's butt. That's the dark horse in our culture. That when someone talks about, so like the first time I ever heard the term dark horse was my last trumpet teacher was talking about me in the orchestra auditions. He actually thought that I was going to be a dark horse In other words, I was going to show up to these auditions. Nobody had ever heard me before, and I was going to win auditions. Um, and it might have ended up that way if I hadn't quit. I quit doing orchestra auditions because of my ears. I might have told you guys that before. But yeah, that's what dark horse means here, is that you're an unlikely candidate who comes in and cleans up and wins all the prizes. Let me see if that's actually how it's used. Yes, a previously lesser known person, team, or thing that emerges to prominence in a situation, especially in a competition. So, all right. Well, looks like we are out of time. I'm looking forward to releasing these videos. Like I said, we did 16 songs today. They are not perfect. They were not meant to be perfect. I will start releasing them in January, probably one per week. So we've got 4 weeks worth of jazz. I told him when he got here, I said, because he thought he was here, I hire him for my school concerts, and he thought we were doing one of those. I said, no, this is for my YouTube channel. And I told him, I said, I am a jazz player mostly, but most of the stuff I put on YouTube is classical. And the reason why is because I don't like playing with tracks. I, I, I'm really hesitant to having tracks. There are a few that I put up. My Giant Steps, I made a track for that, and then there's I Get Along. We don't know what is it. There's one of those slow ballads I put a track up, and then there's one like soul tune that I put a track up. But I really don't like doing that. So I told him he's there, so I have stuff to put up on my YouTube channel. Like I said, it's not perfect. We did 4 hours straight, bam, 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 song after song after song after song. So I do have, um, you know, it's not like we did every song 5 times to get the perfect take or anything like that. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, God bless you guys. Always great to hang out with you, and we will see you next time. Have a great week, um, and a happy weekend. All right, bye.